If working hard and playing it safe actually led to wealth, most Americans would already be financially free. Instead, millions are exhausted, anxious, and one paycheck away from stress despite doing exactly what they were told to do. That's not an accident. It's the result of a middle-class system that rewards obedience and consumption while quietly blocking real financial independence. The most dangerous part of this system is that it doesn't feel broken, it feels responsible. Steady jobs, raises, and lifestyle upgrades create the illusion of progress, even as long-term freedom slips further away. People don't notice the trap because it looks like success from the outside. This isn't about blaming individuals or glorifying risk. It's about exposing a financial lie so deeply normalized that questioning it feels uncomfortable. And once that lie is exposed, the path forward stops looking risky and starts looking obvious. The middle class promise comfort today, fragility tomorrow. For decades, the American middle class promise sounded simple and responsible. Get an education, land a stable job, pay your bills on time, and you'll be financially safe. For many people, that path still feels logical because it delivers comfort quickly and creates a sense of order. A steady paycheck, benefits, and routine can feel like proof that everything is under control. But comfort and control are not the same as long-term financial security. The hidden weakness of this promise is that most of that security depends on things outside your control. A job, no matter how stable it seems, can disappear overnight because of layoffs, restructuring, or economic downturns. Health issues, inflation, or family emergencies can break the illusion even faster. The middle class is taught to trust systems they don't own, believing consistency equals safety, when in reality it often just delays risk. That short-term comfort also dulls the instinct to question the future. When life feels manageable and socially acceptable, there's little pressure to think differently or plan beyond the next promotion or raise. People assume tomorrow will look like today, just slightly better. And that assumption is exactly where the real problem begins, setting up the next trap almost without anyone noticing. Working hard is not the same as getting rich in the US. Hard work is almost a moral value, something people are taught to respect before they even understand money. Long hours, dedication, and sacrifice are praised as guarantees of future success. Many Americans genuinely believe that if they just work harder and stay disciplined, wealth will eventually follow. But effort alone only creates income, not ownership or lasting financial growth. The real issue is that most hard work is linear. Time goes in, money comes out. When the work stops, so does the income, no matter how skilled or committed the person is. This is why so many high earners still feel financially stressed. They're running faster on the same treadmill. Without leverage, hard work has a built-in ceiling that quietly limits how far someone can go. What's rarely explained is that wealth is built when effort is separated from time. Assets, systems, and ownership allow value to grow without constant labor. The middle class is trained to perfect execution, not to design leverage. And that misunderstanding leads directly to a deeper psychological trap tied to how people think about their paycheck. The paycheck as a psychological trap for most Americans. A salary isn't just income. It becomes an identity and a mental boundary. Raises feel like progress, and a good salary becomes the definition of success. Over time, that number turns into a psychological ceiling, quietly shaping lifestyle choices, risk tolerance, and even ambition. Growth doesn't stop because of lack of opportunity, but because the mind adapts to the limit. Once income feels predictable, decisions start orbiting around protecting it instead of expanding beyond it. People avoid risks not because they're reckless, but because losing stability feels more dangerous than staying stuck. The paycheck becomes a safety net and a cage at the same time. Comfort discourages experimentation, even when the upside is clearly higher. This mindset is reinforced socially because income is one of the few financial metrics people openly discuss. Titles and salaries replace net worth as markers of progress. As long as the paycheck grows slowly, it feels like things are working. That belief quietly sets the stage for a culture where consumption becomes the main way to display success. Consumption as a symbol of success and a cause of stagnation in American culture, success is often measured by what someone can afford to show. A newer car, a bigger house, and frequent upgrades signal that life is going well. These purchases are socially rewarded, reinforcing the idea that spending is proof of progress. But while consumption looks like success, it rarely creates freedom. The problem is that most of these upgrades come with long-term financial commitments. Car payments, larger mortgages, and higher maintenance costs lock future income into yesterday's decisions. What feels like a reward slowly becomes a fixed expense that demands constant income just to maintain. The lifestyle grows, but flexibility shrinks. Over time, consumption trains people to chase comfort instead of options. Money that could build assets is redirected into liabilities that depreciate or simply disappear. The trap isn't spending itself, but mistaking lifestyle expansion for financial advancement. That confusion makes it easier to accept systems that never teach true independence. Traditional education teaches obedience, not financial independence. From an early age, most Americans are trained to follow instructions, meet expectations, and avoid mistakes. School rewards compliance, punctuality, and correct answers, not ownership or risk-taking. This system works well for creating employees who function inside existing structures. But it rarely teaches how money actually works in the real world. Very few people leave school understanding assets, cash flow, or how businesses create leverage. Instead, they're taught to trade knowledge for a job and stability. Thinking like an owner, questioning systems, building value, and taking calculated risks is often discouraged or ignored. The result is a population highly educated, yet financially dependent. This gap creates a quiet divide between those who learn money on their own and those who rely on institutions to guide them. Most people aren't failing because they're lazy or unintelligent, but because they were never shown another way to think. That lack of perspective makes it easier to accept debt as normal and unavoidable. Good and necessary debt, the normalization of permanent risk in the U.S., debt is often framed as a smart and unavoidable tool. Mortgages, student loans, and car payments are labeled good debt, something responsible adults are expected to carry. This narrative makes borrowing feel safe, even virtuous, as long as it fits within social norms. Over time, living with interest becomes so common that it stops feeling like a risk at all. The danger is not debt itself, but how casually it's accepted as a permanent condition. Monthly payments quietly claim future income, reducing flexibility and increasing dependence on steady work. When debt becomes normal, people plan their lives around servicing it rather than escaping it. Financial stress becomes chronic, even at higher income levels. Because this risk is shared by almost everyone, it rarely feels alarming. When friends, co-workers, and neighbors all live the same way, it feels justified. But normalized risk is still risk, just spread thin and ignored. And that sets up the most costly mistake of all, trading time for money without an exit plan. The fatal mistake, trading time for money forever. For most Americans, selling time for money feels normal because it's how nearly everyone starts. Early wages and salaries create the impression of progress as long as the checks keep coming. The danger appears when that exchange becomes permanent, not temporary. Without assets, every dollar earned is tied directly to continued effort. As responsibilities grow, flexibility shrinks even more. Bills, debt, and lifestyle costs demand consistent income, turning work from a choice into an obligation. Time off becomes stressful, not restful, because income pauses while expenses keep running. What looks like stability is actually fragility disguised as routine. The real problem isn't working for money, but never building anything that works without you. When income depends entirely on presence, illness, burnout, or change becomes a financial threat. Many people don't realize this until much later when options are limited. That delay connects directly to another quiet belief that there's always plenty of time to fix things later. Investing too late because there's always time. Many Americans delay investing seriously because the future feels distant and flexible. There's a quiet belief that a better job, a higher salary, or more clarity will come first, and investing can wait until then. Small delays don't feel dangerous in isolation, especially when life is busy and money already feels tight. But time, unlike income, is the one resource that can't be replaced. The real cost of waiting isn't obvious because it doesn't show up as a bill or a missed payment. It shows up as lost compounding, lost momentum, and lost margin for error. Starting later requires taking on more risk or contributing far more just to catch up. What could have grown slowly and safely now demands urgency and pressure. This delay is often justified by optimism, not laziness. People assume they'll always have another chance, another decade, another opportunity. But the market doesn't reward intention, only time in the game. And that realization pushes directly toward a quieter, less visible alternative path that most people overlook. The quiet exit, simplicity, assets, and long-term vision. The people who quietly escape this cycle rarely look impressive in the short term. They drive modest cars, delay lifestyle upgrades, and resist the pressure to look successful. Instead of optimizing for appearances, they optimize for control and optionality. Their focus shifts from income alone to assets that can grow and produce without constant effort. This path often looks boring compared to the mainstream narrative. Building assets requires patience, delayed gratification, and the ability to ignore social comparison. Progress feels slow at first because results compound quietly, not dramatically. But over time, that simplicity creates resilience, flexibility, and leverage that flashy consumption never delivers. What separates these individuals isn't luck or extreme intelligence, but a different definition of success. They prioritize long-term freedom over short-term validation. While others chase upgrades, they build foundations. And understanding how that mindset forms and how anyone can adopt it opens the door to a completely different financial future. The uncomfortable truth is that most people don't lose financially because they make terrible decisions. They lose because they never question the default path. Stability feels safe, consumption feels earned, and time feels abundant until it isn't. Real financial freedom doesn't come from earning more within the same structure, but from stepping back and redesigning how money, time, and ownership work together. The shift starts quietly. It looks like spending less than you can afford, building assets before upgrading lifestyle, and thinking in decades instead of months. It means choosing patience over validation and control over comfort. These decisions rarely impress anyone in the short term, but they compound into resilience, options, and independence later on. So the real question isn't how much money someone makes, it's how dependent they are on making it. If income stopped tomorrow, what would still keep working? That question alone can change how every financial decision is made from this point forward. And if this way of thinking challenged you, subscribe, turn on notifications, and keep learning, because the biggest risk isn't starting late, it's never starting at all.